the company's really clear with brands in terms of here's what we expect you to do, and they're very understanding of small companies and help them to kind of live up to what it is that they're asking. But I think they also teach a lot of smaller brands things that help them become larger and successful in their business. And there's a lot of brands that are big today that started as literal startups with Walmart or Sam's Club and grew, and they will be the first ones to tell you that dealing with Walmart and Sam's Club made them a better company.
Hello and welcome to Whyte Label Advice. My name is Brooke McNeely. I'm with marketing here at WhyteSpyder, and I'm joined by two of my most favorite coworkers. I'm here with Scott Benedict, our VP of Partnerships, and our Senior Account Services Lead, Jackie Jensen. And so hello, guys, and welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hello.
So yes, we wanted to talk today about Walmart. You know, I mean, I know it's very different than what we normally talk about.
I was not told that was the subject today.
Yeah, I was surprised. We're talking about Walmart. I know, it's a shocker. But since 1962, Walmart has taken their values very seriously. And so what is the most important value according to a message from the Walmart CEO, Doug McMillon?
The most important one. Well, all of them are important.
I think acting with integrity and the way that you conduct your business, if they had to choose one, I think that's what Doug would say. And in fact, I've read things that he said, and that's important because, you know, I'll tell you this, and both Jackie and I are former Walmart associates, but one of the things that was taught to us is that when you work for such a large and prestigious company, you have a lot of eyes on you, and how you conduct yourself doesn't just reflect on the company, it reflects on you personally. And this whole concept of acting with integrity is something that not only is required inside the company, but really in selecting key brands and key suppliers, it's also very important, not only because it's a shared value, and Walmart wants to make sure that throughout the supply chain, you know, everybody is conducting themselves appropriately, but there's mistakes. A lot of rules exist because some mistake happened in the past or some bad thing happened in the past. And when Walmart was a smaller company, not every supplier conducted themselves appropriately, and that reflected poorly on them as well as on the company. And so that's a passionate element of Walmart's culture that comes with being a leader in the industry. So.
Yeah. What was it like working at Walmart, Jackie? Like what kind of values did they talk about these all the time, or what?
Oh, absolutely. You know, a lot of the conversations were about representing the company and representing the customer and being proud to be a Walmart associate, which you walk into any room full of Walmart associates and you can feel the pride. Respecting each other, respecting the customers, respecting their needs, suppliers respecting, you know, the Walmart associates, but most importantly, the customer is at the center. We are all here because of the customer. We would not be here without the customer. So making sure that everything you do is making that customer's life better.
Yeah. In fact, for many years, Walmart operated with 3 basic beliefs, and then we added the 4th, which you kind of touched on, but without looking, because it's still ingrained in my DNA, respect for the individual, service to the customer, strive for excellence, and act with integrity are the 4 basic beliefs, and that those have been around for years. Acting with integrity got added a little bit later, but the other 3 have been there for a long time, and it is just kind of the way. But to build on Jackie's point, I think it's one of those. It's both. Such a nice thing to be part of such a well thought of and prestigious company, but it's also a responsibility that you have to make sure that you're not the weak link in that chain, that you conduct yourself appropriately, because like I said, it's not just a reflection upon the company, it's a reflection upon you personally, and that's one of the things that I think all of us were taught during our time there. So
that's interesting. So do you think all these values go back literally to like Sam Walton, like the 5 and Dime on the Bentonville Square that is now a museum, so that he was the one that made all these?
Absolutely. Yeah. Sam Walton had an incredible vision for what he wanted for this company, but one of his quotes, there's no substitute for hard work, integrity, and dedication to leaving this world a little better place than we came into it. I love the end of that, leaving the world a better place than you came into it. It goes back to, as kids, we were taught, if you use something, return it better than you found it. I think that's what he did with this company.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm gonna add on to Jackie's point by
Yeah.
threading the needle between Doug McMillan, the current CEO, and Mr. Sam, who founded the company. Lee Scott, who was CEO in the mid 2000s, had a great quote also, Jackie, that we used to talk about a lot. I was there during the time that he was CEO, and it was something to the effect of there is a price to being special, and not everybody is willing to pay that price. In other words, we're special as a company, but it requires not just gaining the benefit of that, but also upholding that responsibility of how you conduct yourself and how you reflect upon the company. And that's always been one of my favorite quotes of his, and he had a ton of good things that came out of his time as CEO, but that's one of the ones I think kind of ties back to this topic. So.
Yeah, so it's so Doug McMillan not only is it goes back to Sam, but it's gone from CEO to CEO, and it still continues today. Correct?
It does, and as I mentioned, some rules reflect the fact that not everything goes perfectly every time. There was a time in the '90s where there was suppliers to Walmart who didn't always act ethically or act with integrity, and they didn't either follow good, healthy business practices, or they used inappropriate labor practices in their factories, and so there's a pretty robust kind of supplier standards and management of how a product is developed, built, and shipped to Walmart that stems from those learnings, those hard learnings where not everything went right. Company and the supplier get called on the carpet, but in the news headlines it's Walmart supplier, and then secondary is the supplier. So the company's put in place a lot of control mechanisms and things to make sure that these standards are upheld throughout the supply chain, because there's a responsibility that comes, with leadership that Walmart tries to uphold, and so those standards exist because of learnings that took place, and now they're becoming the standards across the industry. So
That's cool. So, what is it? Why is it so important to have a value-driven company? Like, is it, especially something as big as Walmart? Is it unique for a company as big as Walmart to have such a value-driven, philosophy and just everything that they're doing?
Walmart really leads the way. They set the precedent for other companies. I think that's what is so unique about Walmart. There's so many other companies that look up to Walmart. So not only, are we very visible to the customer, but we're visible in the industry. And I think that it's incredibly important for Walmart to have those robust values set up. And, to what Scott said, there's so many learnings from the experiences. And because Walmart's been around for so long, they've been able to set these very robust precedences. I can't say that word. They've been able to,
they've set the standard.
Set
right?
the standard.
There you
Thank
go.
you. Yeah, gosh, just
I would agree with Brooke and Jackie's point, and I'll say that there is a more commonplace focus on this today than there maybe was 10, 20 years ago, because of the leadership of companies like Walmart and others throughout the business community. Is it 100% of the time? No, we can read the news headlines all the time, and there are still folks. And some cases that's a learning too. When you see another company or a brand struggle through a bad situation that in some cases is of their own causing, that's a learning of, you don't want to be that example. You'd rather be the model to which others aspire, not someone who gets their name in the news for all the wrong reasons.
Yeah.
And so they've led the way, but it's becoming more commonplace that brands, not only in retailing but throughout the business community, think about these things this way. But I think Walmart helped lead that evolution or that change.
That's really cool. I know that when we all talk about Walmart, we talk about EDLC, everyday low price, but that's not like considered like a value. But how do the values lead back to that core thing that they do, which is everyday low price?
You want to start with that one, Jackie?
Yeah.
Or?
Well, I almost have to ponder about that a little bit. Everyday low cost. No, it's not a value, but it's there because, Walmart wants to give the customer the best product for the best price, to make their life better. We're making these customers' lives better by offering them the most competitive price and making things easy for them. So that everyday low cost is because of the value. Yes.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that I was certainly taught as a buyer during my time there is this working up the supply chain to understand every step in in how a product comes to market helps buyers not only look for pockets of where there's cost that doesn't add any value to the product that a customer gets, but it also helps them kind of learn where there's opportunities for improvement, refinement, efficiency, things like that. When I bought consumer electronics for Sam's Club, we would meet with the people who made the panels that went into the TVs, the people who loaded the software, visited the factories, and that's just my personal example. I know time after time of apparel merchants who did the same thing with their suppliers, or even the buyers who buy fresh produce, who go out and visit the farms where the product is grown, and make sure that the labor practices being done in those farms where Walmart's product comes from are ethical and follow standards, but also that there's no waste or costs in there that don't add value to the product. So that's that balancing act of making sure everything is done right, but also if there are some elements of cost that aren't adding value, that they find their way out and keep costs low. And particularly in these times we're living in right now, where inflation is just in the news every single day. If it was ever important, it's important right now in circumstances like this. And I think we both know as former merchants how much expectation is of merchants, supply chain people, everyone throughout the organization, that they find a way to keep costs low so they can keep the price low for the customer. So,
yeah.
I think back to how, as a merchant, the relationship with suppliers, we would not have lunches together. We would not, meet outside of the office. We would not grab coffee, because all of that money that you could potentially be spending on a relationship with the merchant, all of that money you're investing needs to go towards the customer.
Yeah, absolutely. That's been a recurring theme and part of the culture of the company for years and years. And it just, I don't know about you, Jackie, but it kind of rewrites your DNA, the way that you think as a business person, to where that's just how you think, even if after you've left the company, that's just kind of how you're wired, because of it just feels like the right way to do things. And it's you don't feel like you're just following a rule while you work here and then I'm just going to go wild when I go to work someplace else.
Yeah.
It's just a way of doing things that I think stays with you and continues on no matter where your career goes. And I think the same thing with suppliers. A lot of brands send the best of the best people in their company to handle the Walmart and Sam's Club account because they want their best people working with such a large and important account. So
Yeah, that leads in my next question, which is
Okay.
about the suppliers. So how does all of this, revolve around the suppliers, and how does a supplier know that they are going to be a good Walmart, partner? How do they know that they're going to be, because this letter is, it's the first thing you see, in your packet to become a supplier at Walmart. And so, how does this, how should this frame how the supplier is thinking about getting into Walmart?
Well, I'll start, Jackie, because I think this is one of the things I've seen evolve over time. That there's always an update or refinement of supplier expectations or standards for suppliers that Walmart publishes on a regular basis, because they're dealing with everything from startup companies to Procter & Gamble and everything in between, and they always want to make sure that they stated their expectations up front, and obviously as things happen in the business world, they want to make sure that those standards reflect where the market is today. But I think one of the things I like is that the company's really clear with brands in terms of here's what we expect you to do, and they're very understanding of small companies and help them to kind of live up to what it is that they're asking. But I think they also teach a lot of smaller brands things that help them become larger and successful in their business. And there's a lot of brands that are big today that started as literal startups with Walmart or Sam's Club and grew, and they will be the first ones to tell you that dealing with Walmart and Sam's Club made them a better company because of what they expected and what they taught them as business people.
Oh, yeah.
Did you see that, Jackie?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, in my experience, some of the companies I worked with, they started off very small, and Walmart is a great leader, and it will give you the opportunity to really expand and become a better company, just by working with Walmart. And I see the phrase, extension of self a lot, and Walmart looks at suppliers as an extension of the company. So with these values, it'll help you learn how to, be a better company yourself, because you're working with Walmart. They're leading the way.
Yes.
There you go. All right. Well, thank you guys so much for being here, and I really appreciate it. And, let's keep on talking about Walmart.